Thank you, James of the Throne Records, for inviting me for this interview. My name is Akelle. I am from the band, death metal band VASSAGO. Um, and we are composed of me on guitar and vocals, Michael Bernardo from Tenebrion on bass, Moon Fortuno from Brutal Punishment, Supremo, Infernal Eden, and other bands in drums. And recently we added my brother, Dale Jairus, to play guitars, second guitars in VASSAGO. How am I? Well, during the pandemic, when it started in 2020, obviously it was a big change for everybody because suddenly we can't go out, we were locked down. I was working from home, so I think I was generally okay. I enjoyed the fact that we don't have to travel a lot. I was quite tired of the daily travel, with all the responsibilities I have to do. 2021 was a tough year for me because I had three eye surgeries, and it also was one reason that I had to pause with the band for a little while because I was just busy with trying to get better. I had a torn retina, and unfortunately, one surgery wasn't enough to resolve it until late in 2021. And my last surgery was this year, 2022, January. So we are at April right now, and I think I've recovered and I'm ready to play again. So uh, I do know that despite everything, a lot of people had a harder, tougher time during the pandemic, and I hope that everybody would recover, and I hope everything will just go back to normal so that we can do what we love again and we can play metal again live and enjoy the things that we enjoy. No, most of the time I listen to the classic things that I like listening. A lot of death metal, black metal, thrash metal, grindcore, underground music, new wave, um, a lot of Depeche Mode, The Cure, and so on. So those are not new music. But when it comes to the new music that's relevant to our music in Basago, I would say the new album of Lucifer, the new album of Immolation, Acts of God. Immolation always delivers, and they're very consistent. They're a very consistent band. So I had the privilege of seeing them live in, if I'm not mistaken, 2019. So that was a dream come true for me. The new Grave Miasma album, Abyss of Wrathful Deities. Um, I always liked Grave Miasma, especially Endless Pilgrimage, the album prior to the latest one. Anarchon, that's a lot of old school death metal sounding influences, a lot of darker death metal, ambient death metal. Um, I also like Ulcerate, although it's a little complex and difficult to digest at first, but I think they are doing something new, and that's what makes me interested with them. I know they've suddenly become big now, but I do remember I've been listening to Ulcerate for a long time now. Um, in addition to that, I also like the new Paradise Lost album, Obsidian, but I'm not sure. I think it was released early in the pandemic, so it's still new because everything stopped during the pandemic. Um, because it's a return to form album for Paradise Lost, just like their previous release. Uh, they started as a death doom band, and then they evolved and became a very industrial band, experimental band, which is okay. But I think that their death doom band music is much better and much appealing to a lot of the fans. I also like the new My Dying Bride album, The Ghost of Orion, especially the song Your Broken Shore. In terms of hobbies, well, my hobbies has always been pretty consistent. I like taking care of aquarium fish since I was young. That was one of my hobbies. Um, I try to watch basketball every once in a while. I play a lot of PlayStation, um, open world games, and NBA. And I think one of the newer hobbies that I've had was taking care of cats. We started with just two cats, and now we're up to eight cats. So, yeah, it's really a good thing, positive thing for me, especially amidst all the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything. It's nice, and I also like to. I like going around and driving and traveling, and just going on food trips, but not so much as before. So, with regards to Vasago, Vasago was formed by Mike from Tenebrion and I because we had a project before Vasago uh, with AC from Legion, and our drummer was Andrew from Legion as well. And then we decided to part ways and focus on our own things. They decided to focus on Legion, and so when we were looking for a drummer, Mike suggested to get Moon, who was his drummer from Tenebrion, and we jammed the first time in Las Piñas. I remember the first jamming was in Stuff of Legends with the now deceased Sir Rene, rest in peace. That was where we first jammed. It was in the middle of the night, and we were just checking out how we were going to be, how we would stick together, especially with a new drummer. So from there, we decided to make our rehearsals more regular since 2016 and onwards. So we were able to play in Davao, twice in Cebu, various gigs in Manila. We also played, I think, two times in Mindoro because one of our goals was always to just play outside of Metro Manila. Not because we wanted to spread our music to other people, but because it's like a form of travel and vacation for us, leisure. We want to see other places, meet new people, get to try their food or their local stuff, their local culture, and at the same time, the opportunity to play comes as a bonus, actually. So we really enjoyed the opportunities to play everywhere and anywhere, but at the same time, we're also trying to be a little bit more focused and selective on the gigs that we play. We want to play in venues that are aligned to our music, for so that the crowd is aligned to our music as much as possible. So we want people who also appreciate extreme music like we do, because I think I personally attend death metal, extreme metal music gigs more than any other gig, because of the busy schedule and because it's what we enjoy doing. The lyrical themes of Vasago are very personal to me. They are my expressions of my anger, my hatred towards things, my disdain towards certain people, certain traits. Um, it's a snippet of my state of mind at the time that I was writing, and it's very it's written in such a way that it captures what I want to say, but not bluntly, very figuratively. So it's open to interpretation as well from the reader of our lyrics, and they they can relate to it on their own context and their own reality. So there, I try to be uh, very personal on the lyrics, but not too specific at the same time, because I think that's the creative way of expressing yourself in a metal, extreme metal format. So in 2017, when we completed 9 songs, 9 original songs, that's when we recorded Purification by Genocide. It was recorded in Cubao Expo. It was generally live recording. It took 4 sessions. I think the first 5 songs were recorded in one batch, and then mixed, and then the last 4 songs were recorded on the second batch. And then I failed to mention that my brother Dale Gyros, who's also a guitar player, played a couple of guitar solos there, and he also plays with us live. And right now, we consider him as a member of the band, especially with the new music that I've written. We've written specific parts for him, and it's going to be different from the first one, because in the first one, a lot of the riffs are mirrored between him and me. But on the second release, hopefully soon, it will be different riffs between me and him, complementing each other. It's not going to be melodic. In fact, it's going to be more chaotic than the Purification by Genocide. So it was released in CD and tape format. The CD format was released by Edu from Laguna, and then the tape format was also released by Anogal Records in Laguna. And I'm grateful to all of them for their support and for releasing the albums. And I hope that, in the future records, we would still find people who'd be interested to release the albums in any format. Could be tape, could be CD, could be in vinyl. That would be great if those formats are also released. We also released it digitally, so that people who are interested can access it easily. And because I listen to the digital format, because I'm usually on the go, and I cannot bring a CD or a tape player anymore, and it's just more convenient. But just like a lot of the fans back in the 90s, I've been a big listener of music since the 90s. I prefer the physical format more. But I keep my CDs and tapes as part of the collection. I barely play them anymore, but I try to uh, store them, because one day I think that they're going to be much more valuable than they are now. Who does the writing in the band? For Purification by Genocide, I did all the writing of the band. Pretty much when I come to rehearsal, everything is already arranged. There is already a backbone, and then when we rehearse it, That's when I try to explain the parts and let them have their inputs, their approaches on certain parts, and then we would talk and suggest if, like for example, the drum fill or the drum pattern is the best one for that particular part, and how the overall song should sound like, the overall feel of the song should sound like. Um, I know that when a song is done because I try to uh, have it done before showing it to the band. But I don't have a single formula actually. I try to break away from the formulas, verse, chorus, verse. Especially with the new music that I'm writing, it won't follow any verse, chorus, verse, bridge, traditional format at all. It's going to be a lot more dense and a lot more chaotic than the first one. So when is it done? When I'm satisfied that it's done. When I think it's complete, I would just get a feel of it. But it's hard to pinpoint an exact formula uh, when a song is done. I think compared to before, where the songs are 3 minutes long, I will try to lengthen the songs a little bit more, given a linear structure of songwriting than a recurring structure of songwriting. Um, so there. On having members with multiple bands, uh, obviously it comes with a certain set of challenges, but I think it's also okay because each musician or each artist must utilize everything that he or she has to be able to express themselves musically. Although me personally, I decided to concentrate on Vasago and Cars, which is totally different. It's a breath of fresh air for me because it's more crust punk, and I enjoy playing aggressive music that way. Um, but it's very ideal if like we have band members that really concentrate on just the band, but I think that's a little bit too much to ask for, considering that you know there is a scarcity of metal players in the country, and in terms of like especially personal chemistry, you want to play with people that you get along with. There are a lot of good musicians, but if you don't get along with them, what's the point, right? Um, I guess part of the coping up is by just trying to understand each other and empathize with each other, give space. If there another member has a gig, then we'll try to not conflict in the schedule or what other activities. So there. When it comes to Vasago's identity and influences, well, we just like old school death metal that is not technical, that is more dense, dark. Uh, it has to take you to a certain place. It has to drown you uh, when you listen to it. It has to have a certain level of um, journey that will take you uh, in a very dark place, and that's really the objective. Um, when I think about it, imagine yourself in a dark room and you just are full of your negative feelings and emotions, and you hate, and that's what we're trying to represent there. And moving forward, that's also the same set of moods that we will try to portray, but we'll try to make it in a different, interesting way. Well, interesting for us. I don't know if other people would find it interesting. Our influences, as I mentioned earlier, it's a lot from the traditional death metal bands, a lot of Morbid Angel, a lot of D-Side, Uh, I'm My guilty pleasure is the old Cannibal Corpse, as well. A lot of incantation, a lot of immolation, a lot of dead congregation, drawn and quartered. Uh, I'd say I am also into Gorguts, uh, a lot of black metal. I like the Bathory, I like Venom, and a lot of the underground things from more obscure bands. I like those as well. Um, I like Sarcophago. I like Sepultura, old Sepultura as well. There's this band from Iceland, Zrain. I like that band also. A lot of the more raw bands like Malthusian, a lot of Odium Nostrum bands featured in that channel. That's one of my sources of new inspiration and new materials. And it's diverse. I think there's a lot that can be done through extreme metal that's interesting and experimental, and but at the same time you cannot mistake it from uh, an extreme form of metal or death metal or death black metal. And they have a lot of terms for it nowadays, but uh, all I can say is when I hear it and I know that I like it, then it's for me. And it's different for every person, but for me, I can identify it very easily. So it's funny you asked about Faster Than Satan. I barely remember. It was 20 years ago. It was not my first band. I played uh, a lot of bands prior to that, but I think it was my first serious band. It was around from 2001 to 2005. I remember that officially we disbanded in 2005. It started, well, I became involved with it because the drummer that they were trying to get was the drummer I was jamming with. His name is John. And then the lineup was Eno from, I think his band now is Humdinger. And then the guitar player Andy. And then there was a bassist named Ernell. Um, and then eventually, the second lineup of Faster Than Satan was with Hans from Tomb, now Amaranhig. And he was the one who recorded the album in 2003, which was self-released. And eventually, the drummer, when Hans left, was Bong from Guardian's Crucifix, and he was also part of Corrupt Insanity with Edward. Shout out to Edward, by the way. It was recorded in the studio of Perf De Castro in Parañaque. And the only release format of that was CD at that time. I don't even remember if it was ever uploaded uh, in digital format. I'm not sure. Um, the artist was a friend of Andy. I don't really know him that much, but that was the design that they chose, and it was it was at the time a snippet of our musical journey. But uh, to be honest, right now I'm not really thinking about it that much. But it was part of my learning. Uh, but Vasago, my current band, and as well as Cars, because my other band is Cars, which is a crusty band, has almost nothing to do with that band. So, but I'm okay with the members, and no hard feelings or no negativity towards them, and I'm happy for whatever their pursuits are or their journeys are, or and their careers and whatnot. But I haven't seen them in a long time or talked to them. So there. Well, to be honest, I haven't really delved into much movies lately. I try to watch every once in a while, but because of the busy schedule, I don't really remember what was the last movie I watched, or even series. I remember finishing Narcos. Um, I would start a Netflix series, but usually I have a hard time finishing it because of the schedule. With books, well, I've read a lot of books over the years. My earlier influences would be a lot of Nietzsche, a lot of philosophy, a lot of social science books, a lot of books that, um, especially when I was in university, that I had to read a lot of the required readings, a lot of recreational reading. Um, right now, I read articles online. It's faster, and then I get the gist immediately. But it's good that you suggested. I think it's about time that I go back and read books again. Uh, I'll try to make it a goal in the near future. Um, but in terms of other forms of entertainment, I do spend more time playing video games nowadays because it's a little bit more involved. I just finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm playing Far Cry again. Um, I've finished Ghost of Tsushima. I finished Red Dead Redemption 2. Um, Fallout 4, and so on. As I mentioned earlier, I like a lot of open games, and that's usually what I spend time on. Or listening to music, or if I have time, I would play the guitar or try to uh, check out how to improve the sound. I'm I'm not a big gearhead, but I do uh, watch a lot of videos involving gear just to find out what's the latest ones. But I do not really buy things that I do not need musically or sonic wise. I'm very practical, and a lot of times when it comes to guitar gear, I'm looking at what's the easiest gear that I can bring that's not too heavy. I don't think I'm capable of carrying heavy things anymore. I don't even buy new guitars because I have what I need. Although it would be great to have a new guitar, um, a metal looking guitar, because it's something that I haven't had in a while. Um, and yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube videos more nowadays, actually. Just random things about food, about travel, about experiences, about documentaries. I've watched a lot of documentaries about the war in Ukraine and Russia and the World War and so on, nuclear war. And just wanted to mention that I feel for the people in Ukraine, and I hope the war ends very soon, because I don't think worth um, it's worth it, really. So there. And thank you for this interview. And well, Vasago will be playing soon. We have a gig scheduled in Oral Massacre in Olongapo on April 30. I am excited about that because it's the first gig in years that we will be playing, and we will try to make a head start and finish recording a new album. Uh, I'm not sure if it's going to be a full length because not everything has been written, but we'll try to make a release that's worth it this time. We try to change the approach of the recording. We change the approach of songwriting, but we'll try to make it better than the first one and more a different direction, slightly different direction, but maintaining the same attitude. Uh, with that, thank you, James, and thank you, the Throne Records, and keep it metal.